multimedia and technology are something that are emerging field, which everybody is getting on. You know, to begin with, there was a little bit of a break between outdoor education and new technology because people saw them as kind of opposite. But everybody has smartphones with them now. Obviously, not everybody, but you know, enough people where it's a very common thing to have a smartphone, to have a tablet, to be able to do these kinds of things. So the technology is catching up, but still the research isn't really there. So I looked into a bit of the research on multimedia education in general on the indoors, because obviously there's been plenty of that. So one of my favorites, don't get caught up in this diagram. There's a lot going on here. There's just one or two very simple things I want you to take from it. But the dual channel theory is about how your mind processes information when you're learning. And this dates back to the 1970s, and a lot of people have published on it since. But the idea is that you have two channels, one's the top, one's the bottom. These are just defining marks again, they're not as important. And you can take information through your eyes or through your ears, and that's how you start learning. And then as you go along, you know, your eyes will process the pictures and you can learn about things that way. Or your ears are going to hear words like you're doing right now, and you're going to process the information that I'm saying. That's the important thing about that. So, Richard Mayer is a very prolific author out of University of California, Santa Barbara, currently, who's a researcher in multimedia theory and in education. And he's probably got the most unpeer-reviewed publications, so like books and helpful things that I've seen a lot of teachers reference. But in addition, he's a very prolific author also in peer-reviewed research. And so he has 12-ish principles of multimedia education that he talks about. And the first of which is the multimedia principle, in that people learn better from words and pictures than they do from just words or just pictures. And I think that makes sense to pretty much everybody. So that's pretty important when you're starting to incorporate multimedia. So the one of the 12 that I really narrowed in on is called the modality principle. And the modality principle talks about the way that words are relayed. This is an art form. But those are technically two different ways of presenting that information. So one is the text, and one was narration. And his claim, actually, his principle is that narration is better than written text. And this goes back to the dual channel theory. And again, don't be caught up, but I'm just going to show you a demonstration here. So what happens is the words that you read on a paper are brought in through your eyes the same way the pictures are. So at some point, you're going to have to take what comes in through your eyes and move it up and recognize that it was words, even though they're written. And so this has a slightly less, this is slightly less advantageous as opposed to me saying the words while you're looking at the picture, because then you start in your ears and your eyes and you're going along both channels simultaneously, and you don't get caught up trying to do that extra bit of processing. So that's really all you need to know about that. But based on this principle, I'm going to do an experiment because we haven't seen this applied as much to outdoor education. So there's plenty of research that can be done in the field. So what I'm going to test and see if I put it into a video format which uses the same pictures, the same words, but there's words on the sign and pictures on the sign, and we put it into a narrated video, is it still going to be more effective? Mayer and others have shown this in a classroom, the students sitting at a computer, but there's a lot more going on in the outdoor education world, and in a lot of ways this could really be applied to interpretive education. So this is what we're going to test. So, the first thing I'll have to do is to develop a video, and I'm going to do it for just one of our stops. We talked about 6 stops, and we're designing signs, interpretive signs, no matter what, for all 6 of those. But I'm going to narrow in on one and develop the video based on the exact same information so that we can do it against each other. I'm going to test this by doing a pre-test and a post-test to see if learners learn more one way or the other, you know, if there's a bigger difference from the pre-test and the post-test. And I'm going to do this very soon, even though the sign won't be installed until the end of next summer. I'm still going to try this with some people so that I get some preliminary results. And there's 2 reasons for this. One is that I'm going to present it as a poster at the Soil Science Society of America annual meeting in November. And the other reason is just so that I can make sure I'm on track with my evaluation methods, to make sure that I'm going to be getting the right kind of answers when we actually take students out to the field and do this for real in place. That way we're getting peaks ahead of time before we get too far. And then at the Soil Science Society of America meeting, hopefully I'll have other researchers, come and give helpful comments. That's something really great about grad students, but then at professional meetings in general, is that you really get a chance to kind of push your work out there and see what people think of it. And then after all that, we'll revisit the design, and again, if everything looks great and worked perfectly, then we'll be able to do it with the one on site that will be installed next summer and try it again. So, in addition to presenting at the Soil Science Society of America meeting, that's a picture of one of our students presenting 2 years ago. Also, I'd like to be able to submit this for publication eventually, which will be a huge win for me as an individual, and also just something great, to still advance this outdoor education field. And then, if the trail works out, well, when the trail works out really well, I'd also like to put some of that information available in places like the Soils for Teachers website, to really give people brand nature centers and that kind of thing, kind of guide how we did things, which they may choose to follow or not, but still try to get some input, to develop again how outdoor education is done in general, and just try to progress the field more. So, I'm going to take the findings and then we're going to apply them to what we're doing with the trail. If we find that it is really effective to have these videos out there, then we'll go ahead and develop one for the other 5 stops as well. And then we're going to make them available at the site. We're going back and forth. One way is that we might put QR codes in the bottom of the signs, which is actually one of my boss's favorite things to do, so I have smiles. So that you can access it via a cell phone or a tablet, or you can scan it and you can get to the video, which will probably be hosted someplace like YouTube. The other way we've been talking about is to possibly have it put into an app, and you have it there, but then we put our ID tags in the signs themselves so that it's location-based, so it'll pop up and tell you which one you should be watching when you get your sign. And again, any part of this that works, I would really like to share with the greater education community for future development. So, one of the fantastic things about my whole project is that we've really got this group of people who are working together, and you see all of these groups here that are involved in Hope Farm Conservancy and in my project specifically are all really dedicated to the educational standpoint. I don't think you see that a lot. I know that a lot of people in my cohort can't say the same thing about their stakeholders, all having the same goals and wanting to really work together on it. And that's just a fantastic thing about this group. In addition, the lab group, Dr. Bolsters, is actually those 4 people I pointed out are pretty diverse backgrounds. Kathy's a teacher, she's coming from teaching, and obviously Dr. Bolster is a teacher and a researcher, and Ed is a graduate student in a science field, and I'm a graduate student here as well, but also, I'm a professional in a membership organization at a nonprofit. So those are 4 pretty diverse things, and my thought has always been in life that getting together a diverse group with a really similar goal, again, which is education, that it would work really well. And it's nice to see that it actually does. Yeah, again, that's not always going to happen, but if you can get together the right people, you can really get some good collaboration. One of the other major lessons I learned here was about good communication. And obviously, with that diverse group of 4 different people, what I found is the longer we went without speaking to each other, the farther we got away from the same ideas as to actually how this was going to happen. So I think the less you have in common, the more often you probably need to talk to make sure that it goes on. And I think that kind of makes sense, but if we're all doing the same thing every day in the same lab, obviously it's not as important. The other thing about communication is that I got to see is, again, something else that worked really well is that my boss, Susan Chapman, and my coworkers, who are mostly in this room right now, were really good about the fact that I was working pretty intermittent hours while doing my master's program. And everybody had little printouts of my schedule when I'd be there and when I didn't, so that we had pretty good communication, and it seemed like it ended up working out pretty well. People knew when I was there and when I wouldn't be, and we were able to work around that pretty well, which really could have been quite a shambles if people didn't understand, what was happening. And it worked out really well because I have very supportive staff, and again, dependable people. Every group I got to work with in this has been really good people, and I probably wouldn't have found for otherwise. And again, I was talking about goals and goal setting. We all knew what goal we're working towards. We know what the trail's going to look like, so that made it a lot easier because everybody knows where the end point is. So whether or not we all took the same route to get there, we're still headed in the same place, and it works out really well that way. And then the other thing I'd like to reflect on for a second is just the importance of evaluation, which was again something else that I was not too excited about before I came into this program, because it's usually seen as extra work that you put on to the end of the project. And obviously, Rob taught us almost an entire class on the use of evaluation. But you saw I worked in my research that I'm actually doing a whole preliminary round before coming back around and possibly revising, just to make sure that it's fulfilling the purpose and we get there. But also, this is the one thing that I think I'm going to be able to take back to the office really well, is that we do a lot of programs, and sometimes we do similar programs over and over, and a lot of times we don't evaluate them. And I think that we could be making a lot of improvements on how we do them from year to year if we just take, a day to go over, this is what worked, this is what didn't, and not make the same mistakes over and over again. But I know from being in, that business setting, that sometimes it's really hard to do because you already have 3 projects started when one ends. So it's very hard to actually stop and then add something on at the end of it. But again, in the long run, it's really going to pay out, and I'm hoping that's how it works out with the research too. So just a couple of thank yous again to all the wonderful people that helped out a lot. Dr. Foster, who's sitting here, Susan Chapman is my lead supervisor at Souls Outside America, and also helped out with some of the society's involvement plan along the way. Who couldn't make it today, but she's in her own department, so. And he's been helping out a lot. And all the other, my coworkers who are here, and all of my classmates who helped out a lot, and especially people like Rob, who got me through the program to this point. So, special thanks for that. And this is a photo that I took yesterday at Conservancy. And I also have a handout here that tells you when those events at Conservancy are happening the rest of the summer. If you want to check that out, grab one on the way out. But do you have any questions? Somebody has to have a question.
I'll start. So one of the difficulties with any informal education process is you always have a lot of stuff you want to teach people. Obviously, you're incredibly excited about soils, and I'm wondering, for this particular trail, are you trying to teach people facts about soil, so that when you come out, when they are done, they can answer a test about the soils of that particular place? Obviously not a detailed test, but a little test. Or are you trying to teach them concepts? In other words, are you trying to teach them how things change, so that given another farmstead they were walking by, or another forest trail they were on, they could speculate about soil processes? So which is it? Are you trying to do one or the other? And if it's both, then how do you evaluate that?
Jeez.
It's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
The short answer is yes. Definitely. So the concepts would be the important part, that people can take it. Again, this is a very unique piece of land, but it is a conversation that we got into in the lab that we still want people, learners who go through this, because while we are developing curriculum for around the 4th grade level, we want the science to speak to everyone, whether, it be a retired person or, a family out there with young children, something for everybody to learn. So the concept,
Sorry. Yeah,
the concepts that apply to soil as a whole that they can take other places are what's important, but we're going to teach the concepts through using facts. Like I said, we talked about how soil forms, and that kind of thing is going to come through, but in order to know that, that plants are important for what soil looks like, that's kind of a fact that, in And I think there will be a lot of facts specific to Pope Farm, especially when we're talking about the CCC involvement in the 1938. So evaluation, that was your question, right? So I think the easiest thing to evaluate is facts. So when you look into education, there's Bloom's taxonomy, which goes from, learning or being able to repeat things, to being able to understand things, to being able to apply things. You're going up higher each level of learning. And every level you're on, it's harder and harder to evaluate very specifically in a way that you can really publish on. It's not impossible, it just gets harder. Teaching somebody a fact, what's the name of this soil, it's annual silt loam, it's much easier to test than do they know what a silt loam is and what that means. So again, I will be testing for facts because they're simple, but also we're going to put in some application questions to try to make sure that we can see that they're actually getting something out of it that isn't a specific question about something they saw, not just repetition, but some understanding. But yeah, the further we go, the harder it gets, and the harder I can actually say that they got there. Very, specifically. Is that the whole thing?
Yes. This kind of relates to your other question. So the interpretive trail that you described, there's, I think you said 6 stops.
Correct.
10. Are they currently there, or that's the plan, that that's where they'll be? And if that's the case, how did you decide where to make the stops? Based on something at that location, or?
Yes. So, I thought I'd want to leave this for something. So this is a map of all the this is a map of all the trails out of Pope Farm Conservancy. So all different lines are different trails. The trail is there, kind of. You start out on the red, and then you go up to the blue, and you come around back. So there's trails there, but there aren't signs or specific stops there. There are other interpretive signs along there describing different parts of the property out there and things that you can learn as well, but that's not what we're focusing on. What we're focusing on was the kind of trail and the things that are there. So what we were looking at, this is probably, we bring up one of the other maps, but what you're seeing here it was kind of wooded. There's some bur oak here. There's a remnant bur oak stand, which again is indicative of pre-settlement Wisconsin, kind of the oak savanna prairie area. And that's a line. Hill, you see all these contour lines, and again, the closer together they are, the higher they go. So that's on a moraine. So that is, something very specific you can see about glaciation. There, earlier I explained glacial till is those big rocks because glaciers just kind of leave very quickly and just drop everything as it is. So you see these big rocks, sometimes called erratics, that are just there. And you'll see some of those up in this burrow stand. So that is where the first stop is. We're talking about glaciation. We're talking about early on because you can really see the evidence of glaciation. So going around, there's something like that at every spot. So then we're still looking at the hill when we talk about the parent material. Again, I said that those are also very related to glaciers especially. But then you have down here is some prairie restoration, and then you've got the burrow. So you can see the difference between the two. And again, when we're talking about parent material, you can really see the difference between the two areas because that's a bottom moraine in the bottom isn't. And then we're moving around to the influence of plants, and then there's a homestead here and some really early farming that happened. So yes, I can continue to go through all of them if you want, but they are based on things that are happening there. But we also, because a lot of those things occur in several places throughout the park, we also fit them to our model to a certain extent. Like I can talk about relief and topography pretty much anywhere in the park. If you're going to talk about the hill, but like I said, that's where we're coming into where it was eroding fast because of the steeperness of the hill and the fact that they couldn't farm the steepest hills back before mechanization of farm equipment without, losing everything and taking way too much time. But now we can. So we're kind of taking it around and choosing which things to use where. But there's something in every place that really draws us to that stop.
So it's designed around those concepts.
Correct. Yes.
I have 4 little ones, and this is a question about your video.
Yes.
So, as far as the educational part of it, I think that's awesome. I think you're going to find out things about like having a video because I showed them cartoons. So that's going to be great. But we're learning even better when you're working on an iPad, when you have that doing process and with the hearing same thing. Would that be something that you would consider doing some sort of interactive video? Or would it be more of just we don't have budget for that and that's not part of our scope of what we're trying to test?
So your last question about that's not part of our scope, that's really the short answer to that.
Yeah.
So first, I would like to know, is the narration better than the written word? And that's the first thing I want to test. And then from there, there's so many things that we can test and publish on the site that we could go there. And I know game learning and gamification is something that Dr. Walster's very interested in, but I've done quite a bit of reading into. It does tend to be a little bit more expensive and a little bit more involved, but just one step at a time. I do see, education programs, especially those that Dr. Walster's involved with, going there eventually, and hopefully the Soil Science Society of America. That was something that we talked about with Susan and with Ellen, our CEO, before. But again, it's expensive for us because if you look at the Soil Science Society of America staff, we don't have people with huge education backgrounds or game programming. So we have a lot of barriers there that require a lot of money to bring people in. So, good. Oh, you said I had 4 little ones. You meant your children, not questions.
No. Or Gracie's that never saw them.
Yes. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Peter, did you have a question?
I had a thought. Just in the process of going through this program, the small 1-semester grants course I took with Mitch Nathan from Educational Sciences presented a lot of students in that course were presenting ideas. I mean, not even close to this. They're focused on classroom-oriented learning specifically, but they need, and it's difficult for them to find untouched and unbiased situations such as this. Yes, you have educational literature out there. That's everywhere. People are used to seeing that. But not having the interactive component at the same time. I mean, I personally can't think of any outdoor educational anywhere except International Korean Foundation with little earbuds for their tours. But this type of stuff is so fundable. It's amazing. And it's like you might burn your own publishable material from doing that, but partnering with people like that would be amazing. I think this is cool.
I agree. I think there is more practice out there than you are aware of, but just very little of it's getting shared and published. So, or even, is publishable because it's just kind of something they do. It's not something based in research. So I think there's a lot more practice. It's just that the sharing is the important part if you're going to progress along the science and education.
Did you come across a lot of literature based off of studies like this?
Not like this, no.
Awesome.
Yes.
What is your hypothesis?
What is my hypothesis? So, are you asking what's my question or what I think is going to happen?
That's what I thought.
So, the question was, is the narration going to be better than the words and pictures? I personally think it will, but I'm not going to be really surprised if there's not really a huge difference between the two. And I think it'll be really interesting looking at the statistical analysis at the end, especially, and that's another part that I actually find very complicated about this, that I've done a lot of studies on how you actually evaluate these, because, you can mark right or wrong answers, but again, we're talking about that's a lot easier with facts than with the actual understanding of the information. So I think the statistics are going to be really important getting there, but I think it will show slightly better.
Can you test better?
I'm sorry?
Can you test better?
I hope so.
How?
I don't know. I need to do more research.
What do you mean by better? How do you know it when you see it?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't understand what you were asking.
Yeah, so.
Okay,
You said you're getting
what's
tested.
better? I would say a higher percentage of students being able to take the concepts that we hope to portray and being able to say that they understand, to display or say that they understand. A higher percentage in one form than the other. So you were asking what is better in my opinion, or not in my opinion, how I'm going to say which way is better. Yeah. Yes.
So I have a question about, so you're taking both of these and you're comparing the two of them to each other. What if they happen to work together to enhance somebody's knowledge or understanding of a subject?
So we're going to separate them.
Right, but what if together they're more useful?
That would be, I mean, that would be another different scope, something we can test. Mayor actually has an opinion on that,
Okay.
and he seems to think that it doesn't. And you've probably heard before that you have words on a PowerPoint slide that you should read them to people while they're reading the words. And that's one of his 12 principles, is the redundancy principle.
Mhm.
And he says because, you can go back to the slides here. So what happens is when you're reading words and you're hearing the exact same words, when they're coming through as sounds and you're processing them as words, down here you're processing them as images before they become words.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is you're already getting the word up here, and then suddenly this one comes up to read it, and you've got it a little bit kind of back. And again, that happens so quickly in your cognitive processes that it's not really a measurable number that I can say here, but it just makes it harder for you to process that information because it's trying to do this extra step in there. So the mayor does have that principle, which would make me think that it doesn't, but that would be something else that I could test in this specific instance, because again, that's not been shown in the outdoor education law.
Okay.
More questions?
So your audience is strictly students, correct, right? Is that what you're thinking?
Can you say that again?
So your audience here at Hope Farm, right? So you're talking about students coming out from maybe the school system and using this area to learn, but obviously adults are going to come out as well. And I'm just wondering, as you've been doing some of the lit reviews and thinking about how you deliver a message that educates someone or communicates someone, what have the challenges been between thinking about how you might be able to touch a student just as equally strong as you might be able to touch an adult who's out there, using the same medium for delivering the message?
Yes, and that is actually a conversation that we got into in the lab a couple weeks ago, is prioritizing one group over the other. Again, we do want the casual observer who's hiking to want to be able to look at things and learn something. We want somebody who's interested in science, say, maybe wants to take his kids out here, to actually show them something. We want him to get something out of it and be able to give his kids. And we also want these teachers who are coming out with their students to actually get a good lesson out of it. And so we have prioritized one over the other, with teachers being at our top, because it's my belief that we probably can't serve all three groups at 100%. So if one of them has to take priority over the other, it would be the teachers, because we know they're already coming out. We also know that that's an important age. That's something else I found in the literature when you're trying to impart new ideals and changes in your thought and your way of thinking, that early adolescent is the perfect time to do that. So that would be a really good, that fourth grade-ish area, that we're going to focus the curriculum on. Again, that's something we want to expand, up and down, in order so more teachers can come out and use that. But we're just starting there because it's a really good place to do it. And again, so we do want everybody to be able to see it, but that won't be perfect for all groups. Yes?
What age group normally comes through kid-wise?
Usually fourth graders. As far as from schools.
Is there any kind of interactive learning, right? Like getting your hands in the dirt or doing a
So what?
Oh, wait, sorry, getting your hands in the soil. Sorry, Dan, I knew it. Leave it to me. Leave it to me. I'm sorry. To the whole group.
That was really funny.
To play around in the soil out here at Hope Farm.
Not yet, but
Okay.
it will be when we're done.
Okay, good. I'll come out and help on the project to make up for my comments.
The end of next summer, you should be able to come out and see how this all came out.
So how would you work with people, teachers, or students with disabilities, or that learn from different multiple intelligences?
That's an excellent question. I think one really good way to get into that is being in this program. I've definitely expanded my group of people that, my network that I can go to for help with those kind of things. I think that Kathy's going to help us a lot there because she's been, in education, and that's a big thing, and Dr. Balser is an award-winning teacher himself who can do that kind of thing. But also, a girl, my coworker, Krista, who's sitting there and who asked the question, I think would also be a really good resource to go to, and adapting the trail eventually, for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, that's something that I couldn't fit into the research, these last
Sure.
6-ish months, and will be important in the future, but it's not on my radar yet. That'll be a little bit later on, make sure that we get there.
Okay, thank you.
So if you're willing to help.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. Sounds good.
No. Kathy is writing most of it for us, and so Ed and Dr. Walter and I have been working on the trail part, and everybody together, actually. Kathy's kind of working on the curriculum on her own right now, and we'll come back together. Yes?
I want to know what your biggest hurdle was in this whole process.
I'm sorry, can you ask that?
Biggest hurdle, your biggest
Hurdle.
challenge.
I saw you when I heard turtle.
Sorry.
That's what I heard too.
Peter is he loves turtles. He's quite a herpetologist himself.
I like it.
I would say just the biggest hurdle was the amount of time that I could commit to it. I really would have liked to be able to spend many more hours a week, on everything that I was doing. And I think, the more work you put into it, the more good things are going to come out of it. And unfortunately, my full-time job doesn't allow me to put as much time into it as I'd really like to. So that was really my biggest difficulty. And it's not really been a hurdle that I was ever able to jump over, and probably won't, because I still love my job and I'm not leaving it. So as we continue on through, that's something I'm going to continue to deal with, but getting a little better as we go.
Yes, just one comment, that I saw today in the working journal, there was an article about related with the time. Do you know that?
Oh, yeah, a lot of news crews came out in the last 2 days for the sunflowers as well. Yeah. So I didn't see it, no, but I'll check that out. I saw that they said a bunch of the video crews had come out yesterday in the afternoon, because I went out yesterday around 6 p.m. and said everybody that out, so. Yeah, definitely check it out. It's a great resource that we have. So close to here.
And if you come on the 20th of September, you'll see Emily out there. Emily's gonna man with Ed to the soil station, so.
Staff, not name. Staff, not name.
Man and woman. We're gonna man and woman that. Man and woman
Man and woman in the dirt.
Soil.
So I just printed out the times and dates of the Sunflower Days, which is this week, Heritage Day, which is 20th, and then the annual tour is August 12th, and that Mel Pope actually leads that, and he's so passionate. It's definitely something to check out. He's a great person to talk to when you're out there. Peter.
I was really just kind of wondering, what happens if I get soil on my pants? I'm not dirty then? Is that?
Well, so the definition of dirt-free soil is taken out of place. So once it gets on your clothes, once you track it in the house, then it's dirt, and your pants will be dirty.
Just wanted to make sure I'm not missing something.
Because the organisms are such an important part of the soil. Is like, think of soil as something. Here we're teaching people that soil is always moving, but soil is always changing. Soil is for many intents and purposes, a living thing. And so once you take it out of place, and it doesn't have any living qualities anymore, then it's not soil. But soil where it's producing and doing different things and developing, then it's soil.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's a great
Soil
way
is
to.
very awesome.
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie.
Best thing I've ever heard about soil.
Yeah.